Bloomberg White House reporter Shannon Pettypiece is on the north lawn of the White House. So Shannon, President Trump announced the U.S. will exit from the Paris Climate Accord, saying it handicaps the U.S. economy. Who were the main players in the White House who encouraged the president to drop out?
Well, the main players were his head of the EPA, Scott Pruitt, who has been a big climate change skeptic, Steve Bannon, who is sort of the keeper of the president's campaign promises, reminding him that this was something that pulling out was something that he had promised to do on the campaign and that it would put the American worker first. And Jeff Sessions also was a voice for the out camp there.
On another topic, Shannon, President Trump said Thursday that he will keep the U.S. Embassy in Tel Aviv for now, but moving it to Jerusalem was one of his biggest campaign promises. How will this decision, you think, affect his relationship with Israel?
Well, the White House was very clear to say that they are not moving the embassy as of now. And administration officials I talked to said we are definitely keeping the door open to moving this down the road. But yes, in the near term, like several issues, it does appear that they are pulling back on this campaign promise because they are realizing that things are more complicated and nuanced than they may have seemed as a candidate, and that it would be too disruptive to efforts to get to Middle East peace and to try and broker a deal to move the embassy at this point.
On another issue, former FBI Director James Comey is set to testify in front of the Senate Intelligence Committee next week. What is he expected, or what is he allowed to discuss in that hearing?
That, I think, is to be determined in the next few days, to how deep he's going to be able to go in these discussions. There has never really been a dull Comey testimony. He is someone who understands making a case and an argument, who is experienced in testifying in front of Congress. So I expect this will be dramatic. There will be fireworks. And I also expect it's going to be a week of disruption for the White House, which was able to get back on message this week to some extent. Next week, we are back into Comey, Russia, and this investigation.
So are there any indications, Shannon, that the president could exercise executive privilege to keep Comey from testifying?
Technically, he could. Yes, that is a move they could take. I am not sure if the White House will take that, because I think they are hoping that Republicans in Congress will press Comey on some of the issues they want pressed, on leaks, on his previous statements about saying that no one influenced his investigation, and that if he did feel like the investigation was being influenced, why didn't he take any action earlier? I think they're hoping to see the Republicans sort of go after Comey, and that this might not necessarily be a bad outcome for them.
Meanwhile, the House Intelligence Committee issued subpoenas as part of its investigation into Russian interference in the presidential election. In response, President Trump tweeted, quote, "The big story is the unmasking and surveillance of people that took place during the Obama administration." Is this perhaps, Shannon, a preview of what we can expect to see out of the White House in the days leading up to Comey's testimony?
Exactly, and I think that's something that you can expect. Republicans, especially those aligned with this White House and who have been this president's biggest defenders, will be going after, trying to change the conversation and the argument to unmasking, to leaks, to the topics the administration wants, and off of what did the president say to you and when? Where has your investigation gone? Do you feel like the administration did anything to hinder your investigation?
And Shannon, you wrote a piece about the relationship between the president and his senior advisor, his son-in-law, Jared Kushner. Could the current probe into Kushner's relationship with the Kremlin limit his role in the White House?
That's the possibility, and that's the risk. Jared Kushner was instrumental in this President Trump's campaign. This is an investigation into the campaign. So to that extent, I think it's going to be unavoidable that he is facing questions, potentially subpoenas. We already know that he's a focus of the FBI investigation. And Jared Kushner, I can't emphasize enough what an important role he plays in this administration. His portfolio includes some of these key administration promises, things around veterans care and Middle East peace. And he's the president's most trusted ally and advisor in the West Wing. Having him sidelined or hobbled or having a swirl of controversy around him really could be damaging to this president and this administration.
And interestingly, you write that he is agnostic, Kushner is, on many of these policy issues. Can you just elaborate on that?
Yeah, people who've talked to him say that as a businessman, he didn't spend much time thinking about policy issues. He was focused on deals and business. So really the campaign was the first time he thought about a lot of these issues. So he doesn't necessarily have a personal agenda he's pushing. He feels like his agenda is to advocate for the president and to be the president's eyes and ears and to be an honest broker between those outside the White House and in the White House. And that, again, is why his role is so important, because the perception is that he can be trusted. He doesn't have his own agenda. His agenda is the president's agenda.
All right. Bloomberg White House reporter Shannon Pettypiece. Shannon, thanks very much.